Chapter 1: A Common Problem. Cable news is doing a much better job of discipling people than the church is today. Sky Jitani, The Holy Post. My political journey. I listened to Rush Limbaugh's conservative radio show growing up. Some of my favorite childhood memories are of our family road trips when we drove across the country, listening to Limbaugh skillfully and winsomely critique the liberal elites for 3 straight hours. Everything he said made sense to me, whether he was criticizing big government, unveiling the left's hidden agenda, or rallying his millions of listeners. I wished everyone would listen to him. I was sure if they did, he would convince them and everyone would vote the right way. During these formative years, I grew up in a white evangelical Christian home that identified theologically and politically conservative. My parents loved God and taught me the Bible. They taught me not just to go through religious motions, but to develop a genuine trust in God through prayer, studying the Bible, and a lifelong commitment to the church. I owe them a deep debt of gratitude for helping me put my faith in Jesus Christ. As I developed my Christian identity, I also developed a conservative identity, the two often intermingling. To be Christian was to be conservative, and to be conservative was to be Christian. One time, when a girl from our church came over to our house to play unprompted, I told her, "Always vote Republican." In my teen years, listening to talk radio turned into watching Fox News and popular shows like Hannity and Combs and The O'Reilly Factor. Their views confirmed my views. The right was right. I did not see how politics were shaping, even hardening my heart. Over time, a steady diet of primarily one-sided narratives fostered a posture of self-defensiveness. My politics became a struggle between us and them, the liberal elites and the common sense conservatives. Politics became about defending our freedoms and way of life. We had to vote because we had to self-protect. This combative approach grew steadily until college. During my first semester, one of my activist classmates criticized the war in Iraq, and I swore at her. Another classmate said that there was nothing wrong with being gay, and I told her that homosexuality causes AIDS. Over my time in college, I argued for gun rights in speech class and defended more restrictive immigration measures in English class. In history class, I wrote a paper justifying internment camps during World War II for Japanese Americans. In creative writing, I wrote poems about the liberal media and the wickedness of abortion. While I had well-meaning intentions and said many true things, when I engaged in political skirmishes, it often alienated others and hurt me. At the same time, I was growing in my Christian faith. I wanted to know what I believed and why I believed it. I did not anticipate it, but my growing faith in Jesus would soon challenge my political paradigm. When I took American government, I asked the professor how I could earn extra credit, and she said I could volunteer on a political campaign. So, over 6 days, I spent 17 hours campaigning for Colorado Republican Marilyn Musgrave in her highly contested seat in the House of Representatives. I called party members, walked the precinct, and waved signs at an intersection, trying to motivate like-minded voters. After we lost the election, I told my teacher that sign waving was a waste of time. Even as I continued to defend conservative politics, that was slowly how I began to think of politics. Over time, I grew to believe that Christians should prioritize more spiritual activities like evangelism or church ministry. I transitioned from enthusiastic political engagement towards more spiritual pursuits. I also began to see my liberal classmates more clearly. I ate meals with them, listened to them, and built meaningful relationships with them. I discovered I agreed with some of their perspectives. God used those relationships to slowly open my heart. I regretted the ways I had alienated those around me. When I graduated from college, I moved to the suburbs of Washington, D.C. I was closer to the halls of power than ever before, but they held little draw for me. A year later, the Lord called me north to Gordon-Conwel Theological Seminary, GCTS, in Massachusetts. Massachusetts legalized same-sex marriage in 2004. 11 years before the rest of the country. I had moved from Colorado, a purple swing state, to a solidly blue liberal state. The political culture was vastly different from my previous experience. I began pastoring a moderate to right-leaning church in a majority left community. I began to wrestle with how to share Christ with a community that often differed from my political background and my congregation. Nothing caused me to question my Christian allegiance to the Republican Party more than the 2016 presidential election of Donald Trump. His nomination and campaign forced me to think more deeply about my faith and politics. Much like I had started my political journey with talk radio, I began listening to a podcast by Phil Vischer entitled The Holy Post. Every week, Phil and his co-hosts Skye Jitani and Christian Taylor discussed the news and interviewed Christian authors. While they all understood my conservative Christian background, they showed me discrepancies between my combative approach and Jesus' teachings. As I listened and reflected, I began to learn a new way for Christians to integrate faith and politics. This new paradigm was neither combative nor isolating, but it sought the good of others. It did not require a loss of my Christian convictions. I could obey Jesus, but do so with compassion and mercy. The old way often led me to feel suspicious of my political enemies and to fight a culture war. This new way reminded me that Jesus was serious when he said, "Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." I was transitioning once again, first from loving politics to thinking they were useless, now to thinking politics could be used for good. I have now become convinced there is a better way to integrate faith and politics. It is neither Democratic nor Republican, not isolating, alienating, or partisan. This new approach tries to benefit all regardless of creed, color, or party. It stems from the Bible's understanding of human flourishing and the common good. As I reflect on my political journey, I recognize that many people in my congregation and in other congregations are on a similar path. Like me, believers may struggle with navigating faith and politics, fluctuating between partisanship, isolation, and loss of Christian conviction. They may also want to understand and apply God's word to their contemporary political context, but might not know how to best do so. Could the concepts of human flourishing and the common good be a good way to address faith and politics in the church? Should pastors even do political discipleship? Is it possible for pastors and churches to frame politics for their congregations without causing partisan division? For those pastors and churches asking whether it is okay to discuss politics and how best to do so, I hope to offer some helpful reflection. 3 key areas help establish the need for this study: the mission of the church, how politics is a discipleship issue, and the state of evangelical Christianity's public witness. After reviewing these areas, I will present my hypothesis that the direct teaching and discussion of the biblical concepts and commands of human flourishing and the common good have given Cornerstone Congregational Church a theological framework for engaging civilly in faith and politics. As I reflect on my political journey, I see how much I could have benefited from this kind of integration of my faith and politics. Therefore, I have developed the type of political theological paradigm that might have helped me, has helped those in my congregation, and may help other churches, ministries, and pastors. Thank you for listening to this part of my Doctor of Ministry thesis paper. To watch the next video, click in the top left corner of the screen, and to see the whole playlist, click in the top right corner of the screen. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Take care.